welcome back to my After Effects tutorial channel. This is Rhandz from Rhandz Graphix, and before we will start, I just want to let you know guys that learning from others is one of the vital ingredients for achieving proficiency. Okay, so if you learned something from me, don't hesitate to share it to others. Instead, be proud of it because you deserve it. So guys, without any further ado, I'm gonna show you what we're gonna be making today. Before we will start, make sure that these bits here, change these to 32 bits to have a more color accuracy. Let's start by creating a new composition, and I will name it blur map. 1920 by 1080p, 30 frames per second, and the duration I will make it 10 seconds. Click OK. Then go to layer, create a new solid, make it comp size, and I want the color black. Click OK. Then go back again to layer and create a new solid. This time I want it white. Click OK, make it comp size. Then I'm gonna go to effects and preset, go to transition, choose linear white. I will create a keyframe by hitting the stopwatch on the transition completion and make this amount 46%. Then the wipe angle 41. Then the feather, I'll change this to 454. Move your playhead to 1 second and 20 frames duration and change the transition completion to 80%. Then go to composition, create a new composition. I will name it text. And I will change the duration here to 16 seconds. 1920 by 1080p and the frame rate 30. Click OK. Grab the text tool and type Creative Motion Design, all caps. I'm using Boho's 93 font, regular, 85 pixels. The space in between letters is 200, and make sure that the paragraph is aligned on the left and align it horizontally and vertically. Open this layer and click this tiny diamond icon in here. Choose tracking. Create a keyframe by hitting this tracking amount and change the amount here to 45. Then move your player forward to the 3 seconds duration. Make the tracking amount to 0. Move back your playhead to the beginning of the timeline and go to effects and preset and search fade upwards. Apply it to the layer. Expand this animator 2, expand this range selector 1, and move your playhead to 3 seconds duration. Move this keyframe on that duration. Then highlight all these keyframes and press F9 to ease it. Open graph editor, highlight this corner and drag it on the left side. Then go to composition, create a new composition. I will name it logo placeholder. I will change the timeline here to 20 seconds. So 1920 by 1080p, 30 frames per second, and the duration is 20 seconds. Click OK. I will go to my project panel, open this project assets, open the logo folder. I will drop this logo down into the timeline. Press S on my keyboard for the scale. I will scale it down to 36%. Then go to composition, create a new composition. I will name it logo map. 1920 by 1080p, 30 frames per second, and 20 seconds duration. Click OK. Drop down this logo placeholder into the timeline. Go to effects and preset, color correction. Then go to effects and preset again. Go to stylize and go to find edges. Change the amount on blend with original to 80%. Check this invert. Go to effects and preset again. Go to blur and sharpen, add fastbox blur. Change the blur radius amount to 1 and the iterations 1. Then check repeat edge pixels. Now go to composition, create a new composition. I will name it reflection map. 1920 by 1080p, 30 frames per second, and the duration 20 seconds. Click OK. Now go to the grid and guide options and enable the tile action shape. Shape tool, choose this ellipse tool. Make sure that the stroke is none. And enable the fill. Then draw a shape like this. Then expand this ellipse path 1 and disable the scale proportion. Change the x-axis to 424. And on the y-axis, change this to 1332. Make sure that your plate is at 4 seconds and 23 frames duration. Expand this transform. Create a keyframe on the position and on the opacity. Change the opacity here to 0. And move forward your playhead to 5 seconds and 17 frames duration and change the opacity to 100. Then move forward your playhead to 14 seconds and 11 frames. Then change the position to this side. Highlight all these keyframes, press F9 to easy exit. Open graph editor, highlight this corner and drag it on the left side. I will highlight this layer and press my keyboard Ctrl D to duplicate it. Then press U to see the keyframes. I will move back my playhead to 2 seconds and 12 frames duration. Then move this layer on that duration. Make sure that these 2 keyframes is flush on the playhead. So let's preview this. Nice. Go to Effects and Preset, go to Blur and Sharpen, Fastbox Blur. I want to change the blur radius here to 2. Then go to Edit, copy it. I will highlight the shape layer 1, go to Edit, paste the effect. I will just change these iterations to 1. Then go to Composition, create a new composition, and I will name it Logo Wipe. 1920 by 1080p, 30 frames per second, 20 seconds duration, click OK. Open project panel, drop down this logo map into the timeline. Then disable the visibility on this logo map. Go back to your project panel and drop down this logo placeholder into the timeline. And also this reflection map. Then go to Effects and Preset, go to Distort, add Turbulence Displays. Then go to Effects and Preset, go to Stylize, choose this CC glass. Open the surface, change the bump map here to the logo map. Change the height here to 10. Displacement 0. Go to Effects and Preset, go to Distort and choose CC Blobblize. Open Blobbiness, change the blob layer here to logo map and change the cutaway here to 0. Then the softness, change this amount to 13. Highlight this logo placeholder, press Ctrl D on my keyboard to duplicate it. Drag this logo placeholder on top of the reflection map and highlight this reflection map. Toggle switches modes in here. I will change the blending mode to add. I will change the track matte here to alpha. Then I will highlight both layers. Press my keyboard Ctrl D to duplicate it. Change the blending mode here to lighten. Then go to composition, create a new composition. I will name it Logo Scribble. 1920 by 1080p, 30 frames per second and 20 seconds duration, click OK. Go to project panel, open it up and drop this logo wipe into the timeline. Then go to layer, new solid. I want it color black, then make it comp size. Click OK. Go open project panel, then go to your shape tool and change this to rectangle tool. Create a mask like this. Disable the visibility of this layer. Center it horizontally and vertically. Then go to Effects and Preset. Go to Generate and choose this Scribble effect. Open Stroke options. Change the spacing here to 6.3. Spacing variation, I will change this to 11.2. The path overlap, change this to 18. Then the path overlap variation, I will change this to 19. Then the wiggles per second, change this to 0. Then make sure that your plate is at the beginning of your timeline. Then make a keyframe on the end by hitting the stopwatch. Change this amount to 0. Then move your playhead to 2 seconds and 27 frames duration. Change the end value here to 100%. Then change the track matte here to Luma. Go to composition, create a new composition. I will name it logo stroke. (1920 by 1080p, 30 frames per second and 20 seconds duration). Click OK. Grab your shape tool, change this to ellipse tool. Draw a shape like this. The fill is none. And enable the stroke. The code is ECFC09D. OK. Click OK. And the stroke size is 5. Open ellipse path 1. Disable the scale proportion here. And change the x-axis to 550. And the y-axis, change this to 550. Then enable the scale proportion. Hit the tiny diamond in here. Create the effect called trim paths. Move your playhead forward to 1 second duration. And create a keyframe on the end. By hitting the stopwatch, change this amount to 0. Then move your playhead to 5 seconds duration. Then change this amount to 100%. Then highlight all these keyframes, press F9 to ease it. Open Graph Editor, highlight this corner, drag the handle on the left side. Then go to composition, create a new composition. I will name it logo animation. (1920 by 1080p, 30 frames per second and 20 seconds duration). Click OK. Go to your project panel and drop down this logo wipe into the timeline. Go to Effects and Preset, go to Transition, choose this CC Grid Wipe. Go again back to Effects and Preset, go to Generate and add CC Light Sweep. Then move your playhead forward to 2 seconds and 14 frames duration. Make a keyframe on completion on the CC Grid Wipe by hitting this stopwatch. Change the amount here to 97. Then move forward your playhead to about 5 seconds and 4 frames duration. Then change the completion amount here to 0. Move back your playhead to 3 seconds and 13 frames. Then make a keyframe on the center by hitting the stopwatch. Change the x-axis here to 815. And on the y-axis, change this to 200.9. Then move forward your playhead to 5 seconds and 9 frames duration. Then change the center value here on the x-axis to 1297.2. Then the y-axis, change this to 710.8. Change the direction here to 54. The width, change this to 95. I will open the project panel and I will drop down this logo scribble into the timeline. Go to Effects and Preset, Color Correction, Tint. Go to Effects and Preset, go to Perspective and add Drop Shadow. I want the opacity 25% and the direction 227. And the softness, I want this 5. Highlight this logo scribble. Move the playhead to 425 seconds duration. Go to Edit, split the layer. Delete this layer. Go back to Composition, go to Composition Settings. I will just change this duration to 10 seconds. Then click OK. Then I will highlight this scribble. Press my keyboard Ctrl D to duplicate it. Then I will move back my playhead to 11 frames duration. Press my keyboard, open bracket key to move that layer. Make this layer flush to the other layer. I will delete these effects. Go open your project panel and drop this logo stroke into the timeline. Then toggle switches modes in here. Make all these layers a 3D layer. Now make sure that this logo stroke must be at the center, okay? Then go back to composition and create a new composition. I will name it main. 1920 by 1080p, 30 frames per second, and the duration is 10 seconds. Click OK. Go to project panel, drop down this blur map into the timeline. Disable the visibility. Go to layer, create a new solid. The color to be grayish. I will just type the code here 24, 24, 24. Click OK. Drop this logo animation into the timeline. Enable the 3D layer. Press my keyboard Ctrl D to duplicate it 5 times. I will highlight all these compositions. Press P on my keyboard for the position, and one by one I will change the value on the Z position as shown. Now go to layer, create a new camera. I'm using 28mm preset camera, click OK. Then go to layer, create a new null object. I want this null object a 3D layer, parent the camera to the null object. Then press P on your keyboard for the position and Shift R for the rotation. Then create a keyframe on the position by hitting the stopwatch, and on the Z rotation. I will change the value on the Z rotation to 30. Then the Z position, I'll change this to 2685. I will move my playhead to 1 second and 15 frames duration, and I will change the Z position here to -1200. Forward my playhead to about 4 seconds and 15 frames. Then I will change the Z position here to -650. Move your playhead to 6 seconds duration and change the Z position here to 0. Then move your playhead to 7 seconds duration. Change the Z position here to -1200. Then move back your playhead to about 4 seconds duration and change the value on your Z rotation 0. Highlight all these keyframes. Press F9 to easy it. Open Graph Editor and highlight this corner. Drag the handles on the left side. Go to the project panel and drop down this logo wipe into the timeline. Enable the 3D layer. Go to Effects and Preset. Transition CC Grid Wipe. Move forward your playhead to 2 seconds and 15 frames. Make a keyframe on the completion by hitting the stopwatch. Change the amount to 97%. Then move forward your playhead to the 5 seconds and 5 frames duration and change the value here to 0. Then press T on your keyboard for the opacity and move back your playhead to 4 seconds and 24 frames. Then change the opacity here to 50%. Make a keyframe by hitting the stopwatch on the opacity. Move forward your playhead to 5 seconds and 4 frames duration and change this opacity to 0. Press U on your keyboard to see the keyframes. Highlight all the keyframes and press F9 to ease it. Then move back your playhead to 1 second and 22 frames duration. Then move this layer just flush on the first keyframe on the grid wipe. Ctrl D on my keyboard to duplicate it. I will move this layer here. Press U on my keyboard to see the keyframes. I will delete this keyframe on the opacity and change this value to 100%. Then I will move my playhead to 3 seconds and 13 frames. I will create a keyframe on this center. Change the x-axis to 815. And on the y-axis I will change this to 200.9. Then move forward my playhead to 5 seconds and 9 frames duration and change the value on the x-axis on the center to 1297.2. And on the y-axis I will change this to 710.8. Then press U on your keyboard to see the keyframes. and highlight these two keyframes. Press F9 to ease it. Move back your playhead to 4 seconds and 18 frames duration. Go to edit and split the layer. Then delete this layer. Go to layer, create a new adjustment layer. Then go to effects and preset. Go to blur and sharpen. Apply camera lens blur. I will move my playhead to 1 second and 2 frames. Create a keyframe on the blur radius by hitting the stopwatch and change the value on your blur radius to 40. Then move your playhead to 2 seconds and 12 frames duration. Change the value on your blur radius to 5. Then check this repeat edge pixels. Change the layer to blur map. Open the project panel again. Open this project assets. Go to footage. Highlight all these layers. Drag it down into the timeline. I will highlight this layer 317. Move my playhead to 17 frames. Press open bracket key to move that layer. Then I will highlight this layer 0, 1, and 13. Go my playhead to 4 seconds and 14 frames. Press open bracket key to move that layer. Layer 2, I will highlight it. Move layer to 2 seconds and 29 frames duration. And press open bracket key to move that layer. Then I will go back to my project panel and drop down this text into the timeline. Then move your playhead to 5 seconds and 22 frames duration. Then press open bracket key to move that layer. I will enable the 3D layer. Toggle switches mode engineer. Change the blending mode on the layers to add. Again, I will toggle switches mode engineer and I want to enable the motion blur. Highlight the text again. Move your playhead so that you can see the text, and as you can see it's in here. Then press P on your keyboard for the position. I will just drag it down. Effects and preset, go to generate, add gradient ramp, then change the color on the start. Type FD D5 8F. Click OK and click this end color and change the white from this code EC 6128. Click OK. Then I'm gonna go to layer, create a new solid, and I want it black and I will name it vignette. Make it comp size, click OK. Then I will go to my shape tool. I will create a mask by clicking my mouse twice. Then open the mask, change the add to subtract, and I will change the feather here value to 400. If you find this reflection to be very strong, all you have to do is to go back to logo wipe, highlight this reflection map, press T on your keyboard, put opacity, change this to 50%, and also highlight this reflection map above, press T on your keyboard, put opacity, and change this to 50%. So now it's not that hard, right? So we'll go back again to main and let's see what happens. There you go. So now I'll go back to the project panel and open this sound effects. I will drop it down into the timeline. So now I'm gonna go to composition and create a new composition. I will name it final. 1920 by 1080p, 30 frames per second and 10 seconds duration. Click OK. Then I will drop down this main into the timeline. Preview it. Now our tutorial is done and I hope that this helps you, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you are not yet subscribing my channel. Share it to your friends if you'd like. So thank you guys for watching and I will see you next time on my tutorial. God bless.